Hi, this is David from High Plateau Productions, and before we start Natalie Duque's podcast, just a couple brief announcements. Mila Siska's new single Evergreen is out on all streaming platforms May 27th. Abigail Hannah's new single Ocean is out on all streaming platforms June 3rd. You can find the pre-saved links for both of these singles on the artist's Instagram page in their link tree, as well as High Plateau Productions' Instagram account on their link tree. Paris Paloma has a free thank you show in Camden, England at the Canal Bar on June 4th. Come out and celebrate with us as we celebrate Paris's newest single, The Fruits, surpassing over 1 million digital streams. And lastly, Willowcrest will be playing a show at the Hotel Cafe in Los Angeles on May 27th. Links to their tickets for that show is on their link tree on their Instagram account. Thanks and enjoy the podcast. Hi, this is David Fernandez from High Plateau Productions, and you are listening to Beyond the Plateau, a podcast from High Plateau Productions. Yes, I know in our last podcast, I promised that we would be doing more of these, but just a lot of things going on musically in the world, and we are finally back in and doing a podcast with one of my favorite people that I met during the COVID lockdown. And I'm just going to go ahead and let her introduce herself. And well, first I'll introduce Natalie. Welcome to the podcast. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, no. This is like pretty awesome. So it's funny because we met doing a live stream during COVID, but it's
Yep.
funny because we still kind of run around in the same circles of knowing some musicians within the LA area. And, when, the pieces fell together with Ethan and then him knowing you, and that was just kind of cool. So we'll backtrack a little bit for our listeners. And the last time you and I saw each other, you were 8 months pregnant, or it might even been like 9 months
9 months.
pregnant.
Yeah. Was it in the November? Was it a November show?
Yeah, it was our last BBTM show
Yeah.
in LA, and it was just such a pleasure to see you. And then prior to that, we had you over at what was the name of that little venue that we did during COVID, and you played a set there. So that was cool too. But we have Natalie on our podcast today, and we're just going to kind of talk about music and life in general. So first and foremost, tell us about the new baby. And
Yeah, that's funny. So he was born on November 13th. So yeah, I was 9 months pregnant then the last time I saw you. He's doing great. I can't believe he's already 6 months old right now at this point, or in a couple of days he will be 6 months. So yeah, he's doing good, and I'm finally, slowly getting back into the swing of things. I had initially intended on like taking a couple months break. I usually take the holidays off anyway. It's just a really, really hectic time, and my toddler's birthday's in December, my husband's birthday's in November. It's like, we celebrate all the holidays because my husband's Jewish and I'm not. So it's just like, it's crazy town. So I usually take that time off anyway. And I was like, okay, I'll give myself a couple months and I'll come back in like March. But we just kept getting sick. So it took a little bit longer than I had hoped and anticipated, but it feels really, really good to finally be writing again and singing and starting to collaborate and starting to make plans. So yeah. And so thank you for having me on. I'm like, I haven't really spoken to human beings, so you're going to have to like cut me off to get me off this podcast, because I will just go on and on and on, because I'm like real adult humans. Yes.
So, as your fans and your followers on your social media and everything, I think we're all excited to hear some new music from you in 2022, because honestly, I mean, I try not to be as biased of the artists that I manage and everything, but you had two of my favorite indie artists, cuts
Aw.
in 2021 with Imposter and with you. By far, as not to digress, but it's funny because my daughter had a conversation with me the other day about any new music that I'm listening to or anything. And like, I had to sit there for a second. I'm like, I listen to so much of the artists that I manage music that I don't remember the last time I listened to one of my own personal playlists. And literally the last few weeks, when I was in England and then coming back, I started re-listening to some of my indie artists and just got reintroduced to back some of these great songs that you and others put out back in 2021. But so the last single that you put out was With You, or was it Imposter?
No, so I actually put out two holiday singles, but again, because it was the holidays, I didn't really promote them heavily. I was just like, here's some Christmas music. Goodbye. So you might not even have heard them, but yeah. So there was the two holiday ones. One is With You, and then a cover song, a cover holiday song, Rocking Around the Christmas Tree.
And whereabouts are we with those of you, and we'll tell you Natalie's socials and where to find her at the end of the podcast and everything. But I know there's been hints and there's been some talking, and those of you who are on her Patreon account, which I totally suggest that anybody really goes and supports. It's such a great platform, and Natalie's one of those people that gives updates on a monthly basis and provides some really cool insight into what she's doing, and we'll give that shout out at the end of the podcast as well. But just in that realm, so let's break up 2022. We are already in second quarter of 2022, with basically only a month and 20 days left in second quarter. So maybe talk about third quarter and fourth quarter. What can we expect from Natalie?
So this year is definitely going to be a slower year than previous, like the last, I think, year and a half, or prior to having the baby, I was putting out singles like every 2 months. So it was a very, very rigorous release schedule. So what ended up happening was I collaborated with Matt Teofilo. I hope I'm like probably saying it wrong. I apologize, but he goes by the name Songsbury. He has a gold record for co-write he did with Diplo. He's just an incredible, not only like musician, producer, songwriter, but just a really great person. He's Canadian, so he can't help it. He's just a good guy.
Go Canada.
And so last year we collaborated and wrote this really fun song, and like I had such a jam-packed schedule that I was like, I can't record it now. There's no room. So again, now that I'm finally back in the swing of things, I'm gonna finally get that song recorded and released this year. I don't have a timeline, but it will be in 2022. And then I'm actually working towards recording an EP. So
nice.
Because of that, my release schedule is probably going to be a little bit slower over the next year and a half, because I'm really going to be working towards releasing this EP. That's kind of like a self-love EP that I've been writing songs for a while. Unknowingly, I've been writing songs for a while.
But let me interrupt you there, because you bring up a really kind of cool point. As being a mother for the second time, does that affect the songwriting? Does that affect different moods? I mean, I remember when my kids were that age and everything, I'm either raging out of my mind or sleep deprived or just this jolly, happy human being of watching these little tiny things grow, and the first smile, the first crawl, the first glass breakage, or the first exploding poopy pants and everything. So has being a mother for a second time changed the thought process?
And it's been so unexpected because with my first son, the first time I gave birth, it's just like this whole like new thing where you're like, oh my God, like I have this tiny human that I have to take care of. And then the second time around, it's interesting because it happened, right around the time where my toddler is 3, and now you're really having conversations with him, and really now having to like parent, like not just like keep you alive, but like teach you about life. And it's been surprising to me that it kind of like in the best way possible, it has just like ripped me open and made me look inward and kind of just reevaluate the things that I learned from my upbringing and my childhood, and what are my beliefs, and what are the things that I want to pass on, and what are the things that maybe aren't so healthy and I need to heal within myself so that I don't pass them on to my children. And so that's been the surprising thing. I thought like, oh, I'm going to be writing all these love songs to my kids. And really, I'm kind of writing love songs to myself so that I can fully love my kids. And so that's where I've kind of been developing the idea for this EP of like healing my inner child, and telling her like you're okay, or things are okay now, and like you can let go of that, and you can be better for your kids.
Right,
So
right.
so yeah, it's been intense, but in the best way possible, because it just has really opened up my eyes to things that I was blinded by before.
Being a full-time mother, being a full-time wife, working on music, crafting your trade and everything. Do you find that you're like talking into your iPhone or of notes and everything of lyrics that as you're out in the playground or maybe out to the beach or day trips with the entire family? It's just it's such an interesting way to look at things and how lyrics, because yes, you now are responsible for two human beings. Well, I actually say three human beings because I'm sure you're responsible for your husband as well. We all know that with spouses and girlfriends and boyfriends and all that wonderful things. But how are you finding the time to, put melodies together or put the lyrics together now?
Definitely. I mean, I would not be able to live without the Notes app on my phone, and yeah, voice memos. But it's usually lyrics and just lyrical ideas, or themes, or just thoughts for a song title or whatever, those kinds of things. So usually it's my Notes app, which I like have in my to-do list of like I need to start transferring some of that stuff over, so that I'm like, I feel like there's so much I'm forgetting about or losing because I'm not always going back to my notes. But yes, the Notes app on my phone. So usually it starts for me there, and then at night when the kids are asleep, then I'll pick up my guitar, and that's when I kind of work through more of melody ideas, and stuff like that.
So when you're as a songwriter, when you're conceptualizing lyrics and whatnot, or putting them into notes, are you like humming them in your head, like you might have the melody already, or is it just it's a line here? I'm going to capture that line and then go back and see if I can create a melody, or do you have these amazing melodies going on in your head 24/7?
I would say it's usually just like, oh, I have this line or this thought, and then I kind of just go with it. Sometimes there's also a melody with it, and that's when at that point, we'll do the voice memo. But I think usually when it's a lyrical idea, I'm not humming it. I'm just like, oh yeah, trying to get my thoughts down as fast as possible. Like maybe if I had the space to like sit down in that moment, I might also come up with a melody. But usually it's just like, oh, I have this thought, I don't want to forget it, and then I'm writing it down.
Just it, I would love to see that, on your Patreon account of like just conceptually, I mean, it would take a lot of work on your end, but like a screenshot of the first time a note goes in, and then as
Mm-hmm.
that note progresses, you take screenshots and screenshots and screenshots, because I just find that absolutely amazing that, prior before me working with musicians is that, I had always thought, I think going back, in the seventh grade, riding my bike to junior high school, and Tears of Fears or Flock of Seagulls are pounding in my head of just how did they come up with those lyrics? And now that, I'm very close to musicians now, it just still intrigues me of, how you guys come up with this. What is, I mean, they're all babies to you when you write a song and you put your
Mm-hmm.
heart into it, you put your soul into it, you put money into it, you put time into it. But is there a song in your catalog that like really, was like, yeah, I love this song. I really love it.
I think like it oscillates. Like I just sometimes I'm like I'm obsessed with this song, and then I'm like, man, I'm so sick of this song. You know, I'm like yeah, this and it kind of goes back and forth. But I would probably say of my released music, here I'm like looking up my catalog right now because my brain doesn't always work. I would say one of my favorites that I've recorded is Stay. Um, and then Silence Hurts More, I think, is a personal favorite of mine as well. And Know Me Better was just really fun. I got to collaborate with Only Bricks on that song, and
Love them.
it's yeah,
They're another two great human beings. Just
yeah, oh yeah.
absolutely adorable people.
Yeah. Yeah. So I got to collaborate with them on it, that song, which was fun. And it was more like normally I write more like sad, depressing stuff. And this was, something with more of an attitude. And it was just really fun to write something different. And that has inspired me to want to incorporate more electric guitar and just add more of that spicy vibe, I guess you could say,
Right,
feistiness,
right.
to add a little balance to the sadness and the mellow. I love Alanis Morissette. Like I wanna represent that a little bit more in my music. So
Yeah, I
yeah.
just recently watched her documentary. The whole thing with Jagged Little Pill and everything, and
Hmm.
anyone who's a music lover should go see that as well. So on on your in your notes section in your phone, of
Hmm.
lyric wise and everything, do you go back in time and revisit things that you've written that never got recorded and try to dust it off a bit and polish it a little bit and do a couple
Hmm.
runs and then maybe put it back? Or um, some of the songs that we might see in the future, are the songs that you plan maybe on this EP that's coming out, are they fresh songs or are they stuff that you've written years ago?
So when I'm feeling stuck, like when I'm really like I'm not feeling inspired to write, I don't know what I want to write about, that's really when I go back to my voice memos or my notes, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. And then that helps to kind of reignite the inspiration, and I'll go from there. So I definitely revisit stuff. I mean, I'll revisit things from years ago. And I'm like, oh, I forgot. Again, I forgot about this because just as a songwriter, you're just constantly writing and jotting down notes, and it's hard to keep up. um, the songs that the EP that I'm planning, I've definitely written a few songs that could go on the EP. And those are songs that I've written, I would say, over the past 2 years. But I'm continuing to write and process, and so it's possible that those songs like never even go on the EP. That these next ones that I'm writing are going to end up on there. I like to have my process for recording has changed over the years, but I like to have as big of a batch as possible to choose from. Um, because then I feel like I'm really able to kind of weed out the ones that will be the most impactful. And then it's interesting. I feel like sometimes it takes 3 or 4 songs to finally get get it right, like to finally say what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Like I'll write a song about something, and then I'll write another song about the same thing, and then I'll write it, and then like find the fourth time, like, oh yeah, this is it. This is really the point that I was trying to make. And so that fourth song is the one, even though I like the ones before it, the fourth one is the one that really kind of hit home. And
So
sometimes there's just like a gem that you're like, no, this one's special.
on like the Show and Tell EP, Shine Your Light EP, I think
Mm-hmm.
Brave is Beautiful is an EP. And
Mm-hmm.
then I think the rest of the catalog are singles. When you are conceptually thinking about an EP or a single, or let's just talk about an EP because you kind of let that out a little bit, but that's what you're kind of looking towards. Conceptually, are you looking for a theme? Are you looking for songs that kind of fit an entire mold? Or are you one of those artists who are like, hey, I have 5 bangers here or 4 bangers, and I'm putting these 4 bangers on. I don't care if one's in, a D minor and one's in an F flat, or one is upbeat at 145 beats and one's at a 70 beat. How do you go about that? Because you just said, that when you're going into the recording sessions or the production sessions and everything, you're trying to go in with as much as you can, so you have some options. And Ethan and I are doing that right now with we're like 10 songs, 10 songs, 10 songs, and then with Justin Glasgow, we go in and we're like, okay, like we have like 14 or 15 to choose from. And then it becomes really, as an artist, there's one, financially, there's issues that are going on there. Two, it's like you're growing up with these babies, and it's like cutting room floor, like I don't want to cut that. And so on your EP, how do you come up with the songs? Is it theme based, or is it I'm feeling this?
So I think that's kind of where I've evolved. Or right now, this next one that I want to do is theme based. Is I want to record this EP that's essentially a love letter to my inner child, but is also a love letter to anyone else who is, has those struggles, and is ultimately a love letter to my children, because I can't, I listen to a lot of Brene Brown. I'm obsessed with Brene Brown and Glennon Doyle. But, they talk about how like you can't fully love others unless you fully love yourself. And it's this and so there's a lot of like pushback on that, because a parent is like, well, no, I love, you can't say that. Like, I love my child. I may hate some things about myself, but I love my children unconditionally. And it's like, no, it's actually not, that's not how it works. So I have this, going back to your question, this theme of I want to record all songs around this kind of theme. When I first started recording EPs, it was just like, my first EP was Show and Tell. That was just like, I have all this music. I want to record this music. I was in my early 20s, and I did like crowd fundraiser and just like raise money so that I could release music. And I didn't really it was just like, these are the best songs. You're my favorite songs right now. I didn't workshop them. Like, I played them for my friends, but like, I was just like, these are my favorite songs that I've written so far, and I want to record them. And then kind of the next one was the same deal, Shine Your Light. But the title of it, and Shine Your Light and Brave is Beautiful, which was the EP after that, those were both, I titled them after songs on the EP, which were again kind of about doing what you love. Because at the time I was struggling to be an indie artist and also like pay rent and make ends meet and figure stuff out, and just like eating pasta and not really paying my bills. And I was like, I'm gonna just continue to release music and do this anyway. So like, I chose a song on the EP that to title the EP after. That was really just like, this is what my life is about right now. Maybe all the songs on the EP aren't about this, but this is where I'm at mentally in life. And then from there, I did do a bunch of singles after that. I have recorded or released a couple of other EPs after that. So there's the EP I did with Ramita, right. Letters to Our Loved Ones. And that was a pandemic EP that we released that, again, was like, there was just so, in the beginning of the pandemic, there's just so much uncertainty. I mean, I guess there still is now, but there's a little bit more hope now.
Right.
But yeah, there was just so much darkness, and we wanted to put out this EP to, uplift people, especially people who needed it. And then I had the Gemini EP. It was a 2-song EP that I released, and that was for my birthday. I'm a Gemini. And it was kind of like this, my idea behind it was like, like soft and hard. It was this emotional song, and then this rocker song, and showing the two sides of a Gemini. So yeah, it's evolved. It definitely, since I started releasing music 15 years ago.
So when you are sitting down and workshopping your own music and whatnot, are you recording yourself in a DAW, or are you just are you like doing like Logic or something, or are you trying to capture those ideas?
Yeah, so that's kind of where my Patreon started from, where I was like, I have all of these songs and I don't even record the demos of them. Like I just, leave them sitting in my phone, and I'd like to have demos of them. And this might be a cool thing. Like, when I can't keep up with a steady release schedule of every 2 months, every month I release a demo in my Patreon account. And so I record myself using Logic Pro, and I have I know the podcasters won't be able to see it, but that's my little vocal booth behind me set up. So yeah, I record myself, just vocals, guitar. I do some harmonies, add some harmonies to it to like really get the full demo. And that's what I use. I sent Justin, when I was recording those 2 songs with him, he recorded my EP, the Gemini EP. I sent him those 2 demos to like as a baseline, and we worked from there. So yeah.
Justin's a cool cat. So EP being worked on, conceptually. Maybe 2022, or is it more looking 2023 early, first quarter?
Yeah, that's more 2023.
2023. So in the meantime, folks, Natalie is on, every social that you can imagine. But two things that if you want to go listen to her music, obviously your streaming platform. But Natalie is on your catalog is on Bandcamp, correct? Yes.
Yep.
And that is just under your first name and last name. And then Natalie can be found on her Instagram account, which is
Natalie Duque Music.
And music is spelled regular, Music.
Yeah, my last name is the confusing spelling one.
Duque. Yes.
Yeah.
And then obviously you can find her on Spotify and Apple Music and iTunes. But folks, for the Patreon accounts that High Plateau Productions or David Fernandez subscribes to, Natalie does put a lot of effort, and I love stripped down acoustic versions, and because it's just always kind of cool of at the age of 48 of listening to a stripped down acoustic version, and then how it ultimately evolves into this entire music project as it gets onto an EP or single and everything. So Natalie is awesome doing that. So for those of you in the LA area, I'm just going to put Natalie on the spot right now. We would love to have you come play in Venice Beach in June. Our May show is already, we have that on May 20th or May 19th. Ethan would probably kill me that I don't know the actual date, but seriously, open invitation. If you can make it to our June 1 or to our July 1, once again, you're one of those people that, people need to hear your music. It's good music. And then on top of that, Natalie, you're such a good human being and a musician, and how much you support other indie artists. And I think people just don't realize that sometimes, is that there's a whole other side of this, of the indie music scene, and you see it, I see it, Only Bricks, or Victoria up in Seattle. This whole community of backing each other, and just going to bat for each other, because I think that's how we spread the word for, songs like Imposter, which was like one of my favorite songs of 2021. So those of you, please head over to her socials, go follow her. And we are extremely excited to hear new music. And I think what we'll probably do is maybe you and I will just get something on the calendar and maybe look at maybe August or something, and just see, conceptually, of where some stuff is at and everything, and see where we're going.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm so excited and to give you a great big bear hug.
Yeah,
It's been too
so
long, friend. It's been too long.
it has, Natalie. And so with that, folks, thank you for listening to this podcast. Once again, please go find Natalie Duque on your favorite streaming platform, Bandcamp. Go follow her on Bands in Town, so you can get updates, and give her a try on Patreon if Patreon's your thing. Support indie artists and support amazing musicians like Natalie. Natalie, thank you for your time, and you have been listening to Beyond the Plateau, a High Plateau Productions podcast. Thanks, folks. Talk to you soon.
It's been one hell of a week.